Well, hey there, welcome back to Drummer Daily. It's Daniel Hadaway. That's me. I hope you're doing all right. I am sitting down at my home office desk and I had a thought and I was like, this is a perfect thought for a podcast. And so here I am telling you about it right now. Now, this episode may not be super long, which, by the way, this episode is episode number 163, in case you're wondering. But this episode may not be long, or it might actually end up being long. Sometimes I don't know how long it's going to be until I just start talking and see what comes out. But today, I wanted to share something with you, and I realized that sometimes I have ideas about how I do things in my drum career and my playing, and I kind of decide them ahead of time and then put them into action. And then other times I just kind of do things and they work, and then afterwards I kind of look back on all of that and say, you know what, there's a pattern here to what's worked for me and it actually makes sense. And I want to say that what I'm going to share with you today is the latter. So I didn't necessarily know I was doing this to start with, but I've kind of realized this is the process I've taken to do this. So I get questions all the time about how do I promote myself? How do I get more gigs? How do I connect with the right people? Kind of like, networking, but also just how do I know that I'm promoting myself in the right ways? So kind of all that wrapped in one. There's a lot of questions I get around that topic. And I normally do my best to answer the specific question with a specific answer. And I was like, I wish there was an answer I could give to whoever's asking that always worked. Because I have some kind of principles that I hang my hat on that I believe in. And I definitely have some opinions about networking and things like that, but there's not a broad idea that I could wrap it all up with until this thought hit me. And I realized that this is exactly, I do have an idea. I have a thought, I have a summary of how I go about promoting myself as a drummer, how I go about networking with other people, other musicians, or working with producers or artists, how I go about marketing, quote unquote, myself as a drummer, kind of all of those things. I actually have identified what I believe works for me and what I believe will work for you. And so here it is. So let's talk about two kind of categories, and I'm not sure exactly where to draw the line between these two, but let's talk first about big, broad marketing of yourself. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if you're just going to post something on social media about yourself playing drums, so hey, here I am, I'm a drummer, or here I am, here's a video of me playing the drums, or here's me wanting maybe to share some educational information if I'm trying to maybe make a career out of teaching lessons to, as a way of supplementing my income or whatever it is. I'm putting out some kind of content for a broad audience, meaning it may or may not be content. It might just be even communication. But whatever it is, I ask myself, is the audience for what I'm doing broad? Is it a lot of people that I'm trying to reach with this thing that I'm doing, with this communication or this content that I'm creating or this performance, whatever it is? And if it is intended for a broad audience, then I try to work out being strategic and I think everything through and I say, okay, what are my goals with this? What am I trying to communicate? What am I trying to do? What kind of gigs am I trying to get? What kind of, if it was lessons, for example, what kind of students do I want to respond? So I'm very strategic and I'm very thoughtful about what I do and don't say, what I do and don't play, kind of how I do everything. I'm very thoughtful and strategic about it. But that's only for a broad audience. So I think a lot of people get hung up and they make the wrong choices. A lot of drummers or a lot of musicians make the wrong choices as far as how they interact with other musicians or how they go about quote unquote networking. They make bad choices when they try to apply that level of strategy or strategery, we'll say maybe. They try to apply that level of strategy and tact and I don't know how it would, just kind of like overthinking of things in a way. It can turn into overthinking. They try to apply that same strategy with their interactions on a one-on-one basis. So interpersonal, very close, intimate interactions. A lot of musicians make the mistake of trying to be overly strategic with how they interact with other people on a one-on-one level. And to be honest with you, I maybe wouldn't have been able to identify that so much early on in my career when I see other people doing it. But now on the other side, here's how it comes out to me. I have somewhat of an established career as a musician, and I know other people who do as well. And believe it or not, we actually do hang out. Most of my friends are professional musicians in my everyday life. My neighbors are not necessarily, but the people that are not my neighbors that I hang out with a lot, they're almost all professional musicians or have some kind of career touring or traveling, something in the music business. And we all have some kind of maybe a radar or something for people who kind of enter into the world, into our world, our social circles, who are doing what I'm talking about, making the bad choice and being overly strategic with how they talk to people, how they interact, all of those things. And it just makes us feel gross. And so if you're trying to break into a music scene, so to speak, or break into being a professional drummer or whatever it is, if you approach it being super strategic from a interpersonal relationship perspective, you are going to scare away the people who are already established in that world, and they are going to consciously avoid you and working with you and hanging out with you because it just doesn't come across well. I've said this a bunch before, but it seems like it comes across as desperation a lot of times. And desperation is never a good thing to bring into a professional situation or even just a musical situation. It always comes out in your playing and how you act, everything. So, all that to say, be strategic with anything that you're doing that's intended for a broad, wide audience. But do not be strategic and overthink everything when you are working one-on-one with people and you're interacting with people who maybe are able to help you out, if not now, down the road. So the thing is, just do the right thing. It doesn't have to be so complicated or confusing when you're around other people as a drummer. Just help others, give them what they're looking for as much as you can, and just help them out. And then be strategic in the things for the big audiences. But when it comes down to interacting with a bass player or a singer or a producer, just do the right thing. And that will get you 95% of the way towards what you are looking for in the first place. But don't ever do anything with ulterior motives or trying to get something out of somebody. Just find the joy in helping other people, and just be a good guy, be a good girl. Just be good, and all that other stuff will follow. I promise. Be strategic with your content, but be normal and good, and just do the right thing with people. So I hope that helps you today in your pursuit of being a professional drummer. And we'll talk again real soon. Bye for now.